goddamn fool. Don't be no damn fool. There's a difference. In the Bible, it tells you, it says, we are fools for Christ's sake. It didn't say we are stupid fool or a damn fool. When you're a damn, when you put that word on there, you're just being, and just do anything, because people can do something good, but if you don't have the spirit enough is to discern what's going on, then you can be walking into something, somebody gonna hurt you or try to play you or something. We ain't talking about that. That's what you call being a damn fool. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with being nice, but you got to know when to do that shit. And this is something that a lot of the people in Christianity don't understand. When it comes to, for example, children, when you try to discipline children, you know how certain grandmothers is. They'll sit up there and, ooh, don't do that baby like that. Come at. And they go to rocking the baby and trying to baby them up like that. No, baby, you don't mistreat them kids like that, baby, and all that. And God gonna take and wear your ass out with them curses and get on your ass because you need some biblical history. And I'm fixing to give it to you. I'm gonna give you a general idea. You can go to First Chronicles in the biblical Bible, and it'll tell you Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the Hebrew brothers, they were people of war. Them people wasn't playing back in that day. They was good. They were what you call needed to show love to people when it was necessary. When it was necessary for them is to at time periods when it was time for them is to be good. You know what I'm saying? They did it. But it was when it was David killed. He slew a bear, right? You go and look in First Chronicles chapter 11. The Bible says that he tore a bear apart. Not only that, he took a spear and killed an Egyptian with it in a snowy day. And it wasn't no peaches and cream during that time. So if you look at Benjamin and Gad and Issachar and Levi, those were people of war. Levi would be the so-called Haitian, so-called what they like the Levite. If the biblical Levites was living today, they would be known as a so-called Creole or Haitian, a so-called Haitian, because that's where Creole come from. That's what they would be. That's what people would be saying or calling us, a so-called Creole or so-called Haitian, because that's their biblical nationality according to the Bible. Because they were conquered. The Haitians, which were so-called Creole, they was conquered by the French. The Babylonians was conquered by what? The Greeks, because they were the heathens. And the Babylonians, who conquered the Babylonians? The Greeks did. The Romans, they did. Who conquered the Greeks? Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece. And who conquered Rome? Who conquered Greece? Rome did. So each one of those kingdoms ruled. It was a time period in which they ruled. If you go into Daniel chapter 2, you will see the beginning of the ancient Babylonians who were heathens. They worshiped the sun. They had other gods that they worshiped. The Babylonians did not worship the God of Israel. The Babylonians worshiped their own gods, the gods of the Edomites, all them people. The Medes and the Persians, they had their own God. It wasn't the same God as the God of Israel. That's why God kept punishing Israel, is because Israel kept worshiping the other gods. You see what I'm saying? So let's compare it in modern day's age. The Bible tells you in Exodus 15 and verse 3, he said the Lord is a man of war. When you look in 1 Samuel chapter 2 and verse 6, the Bible says that the Lord killeth and the Lord maketh alive. In other words, if we not keeping his commandments, if we not doing what he said do, if we not doing exactly keeping those commandments, which is the key foundation of coming up out of these conditions that we're in, we got to acknowledge that we have not been keeping God's law. We have to acknowledge, we got to come back to those laws. We first got to learn what those laws is. You see what I'm saying? One of the laws, women, they claim that we have to be keeping, not wearing pants. That's a law for a dress code. The Bible has a dress code. And also this beard. Like if I walked around here with this damn beard smooth like this, like my face, that's not keeping the commandments if I shave this off. It's not. It's no shadow of a doubt. It's not at all. So if I'm expecting for God is to pull me up out of the situation, I gotta be at least keeping the commandments, man. I'm not bragging on that. I'm just I'm not trying to brag, people. See that? Those are fringes, man. He tell you to wear fringes in the borders of your garments when you walk out and stuff like that. That's what the Most High tell you. If you ain't wearing the fringes, then you can't be worshiping God. You're not worshiping the Most High. And so that's what it means to have a relationship with the Most High. And I can prove that. That's in 1 John 5:3. He said, for this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous. And another part in 1 John chapter 2 and verse 3. 1 John, I think it's 1 John 2 and verse 3. The Bible said, he that says, I know him, and keepeth not his commandments, is a liar, and the truth is not in him. So to love God is to keep the commandments, man. But we have to understand more about what keeping the commandments, keeping the feast days to the best of our ability. That's being perfect, because people tell you can't be perfect, when the Bible clearly tells you in Philippians 4:13, you can do all things through Christ, which strengthens you. You see what I'm saying? So why is people walking around here saying that the laws of God is done away with and all that kind of stuff? You see what I'm saying? When the Bible clearly tells you in Matthew 5:17, he said, think not that I've come to destroy the law of the prophets. That's talking about the Torah. Now, the animal sacrifices, we don't have to observe that anymore. But the law, which deal with the dress code, the diet, and all of that type of stuff, eating right, and all that kind of stuff, we still should be keeping that, because he said, until heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law, until all is fulfilled. Now you have to ask, he said, until all is fulfilled. Once everything in the Old Testament, what they call the Old Testament, has not been fulfilled yet. So there's no such thing as Old and New Testament, because you got some things in the Old Testament that has still ain't never came to pass, have never really has been fulfilled. You see what I'm saying? So, it all boils down to keeping his commandments, man. That's what it all boils down to. So when people, when you look at 1 Chronicles chapter 7, 1 Chronicles chapter, in Numbers chapter 4, 5, 6, and Numbers chapter 3, it talks about how God chose out of Gad, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Issachar, Zebulun, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. All of those makes up the 12 sons of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel that came from Jacob. Now, what does it mean to be an Israelite? To be an Israelite, you have to descend from a seed line in the Bible called Jacob. Jacob is the progenitor and the forefathers of the Hebrew brothers, the Hebrew Israelites. You see what I'm saying? A Hebrew is the language that they once spoken. That's the original language of the biblical lost tribes, that they lost their identity because they didn't keep the commandments of the Most High God. You see what I'm saying? And that's what it means to be a Hebrew Israelite. Now, a lot of people take that to be a religion. And I have to tell people all the time, it's not a damn religion. This is all about keeping the commandments. People are always talking about, oh, he hung up on that Hebrew Israelite religious stuff. No, it's not a religion, because if you look in Genesis chapter 26 and verse 5, the Bible said, because that Abraham obeyed my voice. That means reading this Bible, getting and keeping the command. Obey his voice means keeping the commandments and following the laws of the Bible. It's about obedience to the Bible. Because that Abraham obeyed my voice, kept my charges, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. That means he was keeping the commandments. That's what it means. It's not a religion. It's history. That's why it says in the book of Joshua, right after Moses died, Joshua took over. The Most High told the children of Israel, under the leadership of Joshua, he said, this book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth. The book of the law, meaning it's not the book of religion. So if he said the book of law and stat laws and the book of the law, which is the Bible, and he said that because obey my laws, my Genesis 26:5, Abraham obeyed my voice, kept my commandments, my charges, my statutes, and my law. It didn't say nothing about a religion in that one of them verses at all. So it's not dealing with a religion. It's not dealing with a cult. It's dealing with keeping the commandments of God. That's what it's all about. And that's what it's always have been about. So when you sit up there and teach your child, like, be gimme, and being all sweet and stuff, and saying, oh, baby, don't you do that to that child. God is going to punish you for doing that child. No, God is going to punish you for not teaching your child what he's supposed to know. Because in Deuteronomy chapter 4, and I think verse 10, 11, 12, 13, somewhere around in there, he says that only take heed to thyself, lest thy eyes forget, lest your eyes, or my eyes, forget the things which thy eyes have seen, but teach thy sons and thy sons' sons. It's in there. In other words, train up a child in the way it should go. When he said teach your son's son, it didn't say give your son's sons a religion. He didn't say, but give them a religion to your sons. He said, teach them. Giving somebody a religion is something that can't be proven. Religion is based upon your opinions. That's what religion is based upon. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I'm trying to tell y'all now. You see what I'm saying? So to be a child of God, you have to keep the commandments of God. The so-called white man, they the enemy, so it's not really in them. They rule this world in wickedness. You see what I'm saying? They rule this whole world in wickedness. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah, man. This whole world lies in wickedness, man. So maybe what I might need to do, man, is like come out here and get my thing and stand in the because I got me a little homemade post, and I can use it and stand up out here, and then because I'm trying to like get to the point to where I can get into the habit of doing that. You know what I'm saying? And and doing some stuff to get our people, like if I can like get. Because I know a lot of people are going to pass by and they're going to rebel against it. But my whole outcome, the whole goal is to just say it anyway. You see what I'm saying? And to it would be the most important thing is us practice keeping these commandments. At least practice keeping these laws, And I'm not telling you nothing that I'm not trying to do. You see what I'm saying? So don't think I'm just sitting up and just throwing shades. I'm not doing that. You see what I'm saying? I'm just trying to warn us that the so-called white man is not your friend. The so-called white man is your enemy. So the whole point is, let's go back to 1 Chronicles chapter 12. When you read in that chapter, you're going to see where the Gad, Benjamin, and they went to war. It wasn't no sweet, they didn't show, no, it wasn't no sweetness. There wasn't no bags of potato chips given out. It wasn't no gold and no money or none of that. They went to war and they wasn't playing. Our forefathers didn't play. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the forefathers, the progenitor of the Israelites, they did not play. When something was not right or out of order, they went to war. You see what I'm saying? And there are many places in the Bible where it tells you that they went to war. You see what I'm saying? Christianity, see, the reason why we are the way that we are right now is because we We have been listening to, we downloaded years ago this nonsense Christianity into our brain. And that's why it's hard to get us is to break loose from these things here. And that is a curse. That is the Christianity is witchcraft. It is. All these type of spirits that you see, people want to turn around and call Esau, the so-called white man, on you, and saying that you being disturbance and you're disturbing them and all that kind of stuff. You doing this and that and the third. Though that's witchcraft spirits. Witchcraft is not just a natural thing that you do. Witchcraft is a rebellious spirit. Witchcraft is not keeping the commandments to the best of our ability, to the best of your ability. Witchcraft is poverty. All of that is a form of witchcraft. When you go in the store and you look as a so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American person, and you looking at something that's very expensive, even if you got to say that thing is expensive, damn, that's expensive, for a so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American person, that is a curse within itself. That is not only, a curse is the same thing, it's devoted to witchcraft. That is the spirit of witchcraft. To walk in a store and you can't afford certain things because they got the prices all hacked and hasted high and all of that. That is the spirit of witchcraft. That's exactly what the hell it is. All of it. You know what I'm saying? When we have this spirit, this secular spirit toward each other, and we hate each other and stuff, that's a curse. That's the spirit of hatred. The spirit of hatred is witchcraft. The spirit of hatred is witchcraft. Yep. So if you want to know more about that, you can go in Galatians 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6. Read the whole chapter, the whole chapters of Galatians. Yeah. So that's what it is, man. We live, every day we wake up, we living in the land of our enemies right now. We still living in the land of our, people tell you that you're free and all that kind of stuff. When you refuse also to train your children right, and you say, oh, God gonna put something up on you for treating that baby like that. No, God gonna send them curses up on you if you don't keep the commandments, because that's one of the commandments, is to teach your son's son, what I just got through talking about, the commandments of God. You know, that's one of the commandments. So right there, you breaking one of the commandments when you don't teach your children how to keep the commandments of the Most High God and separate from the enemy. Also, that is one of the commandments too. But a lot of our people is not keeping those commandments. They not really doing that and nor keeping them commandments. They not. No. One of the commandments, he said in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verses 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, when the Lord thy God shall bring thee unto the land whither thou goest to possess it, and has cast out many nations from out of thy sight or behind thee. He says, when thou comest unto the land of Canaan, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt not make no covenant with them. That means don't make no marriage or contract with the other nations. Neither should thou make marriage. He said, don't even make marriages with them other nations. That, he said, thy daughter should thou not give unto his son, nor thy daughter should thou take unto their sons, for they will turn away thy sons from following me. And he said that he said, if you do, the anger of the Lord will be kindled upon you. You see what I'm saying? So you got to separate. That's what I mean when I say don't be it's okay to be a fool, but don't be no damn fool. And that's what a lot of our people is. We are a fool for the so-called white man. When it comes to the white man, we listen to their news. We listen to everything that they got to say on the news. We tell our children to be quiet. I'm trying to hear the news up in here. For the sake, we sacrifice ourselves to these other gods. We sacrifice to the gods of the so-called white man, which is the news. When you sit there and you watch the news and watch it and although the Bible did say watch as well as pray, when you sit there and just focus and just watch the news and this and that and the third, that means the white man, that is your God, because they are a God. There are many gods. There is the God of Israel. There is the God of the Babylonians. There is the God of the Greeks. There is the God. There's the gods of the Medes and the Persians. There's the gods of the Greeks. There's the God of the Romans, and there is also the God of the Canaanites, the God of the Perizzites, the God of Ashkenaz or Israeli. They have their own God. Egypt had lots and lots of gods. They had multitude of gods. They had over thousands of gods. You see what I'm saying? So you got the Roman God. You got another God called Diana, the God of I think of the what's these other ones? They got a lot of them, people. They got a lot of them in the Old Testament. They got the gods of the sun in the Bible. That's in I think it's 2 Kings 23, to where verses 5 and 6, where it says that the priests and all of those, they was bringing adulterous things and making sacrifices to what's that god Molech? That means they were sacrificing their children to the god. The Molech was a god. It wasn't the God of Israel. It was the God of Molech. And the children of Israel kept going off and they kept worshiping those gods and stuff like that. And that's why God kept sending our people into slavery. And slavery is another word for bondage or captivity. You see what I'm saying? So what he's trying to do is get us out of the so-called white man's system that we're doing. We're worshiping them by joining to the heathen, by putting dogs and all that shit in our, it's the way we do with it. It's nothing wrong with having a dog or whatever, but it's the things that they be doing, the heathens be doing with those dogs, such as the nation of Edom, which is another biblical name for the so-called white man or Caucasian people or Idumean people. You see what I'm saying? So he tell us, learn not the way of the heathens in Jeremiah chapter 10 and verse 2. He says, learn not the way of the heathen. He also said the customs of the people are vain. The so-called white man is the enemy on the planet, and they are the devil that the Bible speaks of. And they also it is the God. You're worshiping the gods of your enemies, and so he wants us to come away from that and stop worshiping the gods of the heathens, the gods of the enemy, the gods of the Chinese. Chinese, they have their own god. They have what is called a Madonna, and then you have the god of Nimrod. That's also a Babylonian, associated with the Babylonian worship too. You see what I'm saying? Nimrod, you got Nimrod ain't nothing but Christianity. You see what I'm saying? That's all Nimrod is. When you worship Thanksgiving and when you worship Christmas killing, that's what I call it, Christmas killing. What you're doing is you're celebrating the feasts and holidays, demon days. You're celebrating the days of witchcraft, which comes from the enemy, the so-called white man. They created all those things. So you have to understand there are several gods. You see what I'm saying? People always like to say, I have a relationship with God. What does it mean to have a relationship with God? To have a relationship with God, meaning that you will be keeping the commandments. That's what he said in 1 John chapter 2 and verse 3. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous. That means they are not hard. He said in 1 John 2 and 3, he says, he that says, I know him and keepeth not his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. So if you say that you know him, knowing him means you love him. And if you say that you keep his commandments or whatever, if you're saying that you keep the commandments, but you, if I say I'm keeping the commandments and you see my face smooth as a goddamn day, like this here, my hair cut off, bald, and all this here shade, which I wouldn't want to do it in no way. You see what I'm saying? When you see me out here, I got on shorts, right? And you see me out here in a dress. How is I'm keeping the commandments? Because wearing pants or wearing a dress, that's not keeping the commandment. But wearing pants and not cross-dressing, that means you're keeping the commandments. To wear fringes means you're keeping the commandments, like these. Yeah, to wear fringes, that means you're keeping the commandments. You see what I'm saying? To keep some hair on your face, like around here and up here, that means you're keeping the commandments. That means you're doing the best you can. I'm not boasting, I'm not bragging or anything. I don't want nobody to get it twisted, but I'm just, it ain't nothing that I'm doing if it's positive that I'm gonna encourage you to do it. And I'm encouraging you is to keep the biblical laws of the Most High and come back to your inheritance. That's what I'm doing. You see what I'm saying? But yeah, man, we live in that society, man, to where um, you have to think about those things, because we have to learn how to actually keep those commandments, man. Yeah, we got to keep those commandments, and that's what it means, you know. But like I said, when you look at what you call that, when you look at what was that I was gonna say? Oh, it'll come back to me. But anyway, while I'm thinking about that, you have to keep the commandments. I'm encouraging you to keep the commandments. Come back. That's our inheritance. That's our biblical inheritance. So when you tell most of our people this, though, they ain't gonna, they don't get that. You know what I'm saying? They don't get that. Um, so that's why. What does it mean to be holy? The word holy just simply means to be separated. You're not part of this world. You in this world, but you're not of this world. What does it mean to be of the world? Of the world means that you love, you don't have a love for the Most High God. We only have a love for what our eyes see. We more concerned about, well, I don't care if I'm serving Esau or not, or whatever. I love this car and all that. You know what I'm saying? You all about your cars and stuff like that. It's all about to serve God and to be separated from this world. And from what my experience, meaning that you don't have a desire, it makes you uncomfortable, is to like go in the ways of Esau, the so-called white man, and know that they are working on, like, let me give you an example. So-called working on the police station for these devils, the so-called white man, right? If I get let's say having a job, being a so-called police officer, right? And I'm knowing that this system is set up, I'm helping the system destroy my people. That's what you're doing. You see what I'm saying? And the Bible tells us that don't be part of that system. That means what it's saying, when you take a job and you're taking an oath that you will help actually kill your own people. You're saying I take an oath is to become an enemy against my own people. You're saying that you're taking an oath if it means putting your people in the ground and tarnishing them, tormenting your own people just to make a living. I'm selling my soul to Satan. That's exactly what you just did, to be a so-called police officer. And that's why I say a lot of our people is blind, because they working for the so-called white man. They working on the police force, and the Most High God tells our people, do not be partakers with them, because that is their culture and that is their gods. When you choose to do that, that means that's just like you're no different from Judas, who sold his soul to the Most High God for, I believe it's like 20 pieces of silver. You're no different from Judas if for doing something like that. You know what I'm saying? You're no different from Judas. Judas, who betrayed the Most High, sold him out for some money changes and stuff like that. 20 pieces of silver, my bad. Yeah, that's exactly what you're doing. You took, and not only that, when you work on a police force, so-called white man's police force, you are choosing to stand and take an oath against your God and your, let me get up from here. and go down on the other end. Yeah, you go down here. When you do that, when you choose to do something like that, you're choosing to, maybe I can get up out of here. You're choosing to take an oath to be an enemy against your people. And I refuse to stand, I refuse is to take an oath and take a job that's gonna kill my people and persecute and kill my people. You're taking an oath is to kill and prosecute and hurt your own people. That's exactly what you're doing when you do that. Let's see if this thing holds on. I don't think this worked. But anyway, yeah, that's exactly what you're doing. You're choosing to take a oath. You're swearing on the oath that you want to sell your God out, betray your God, and deny your God, deny your people, and deny ever loving your people, love my people. So that's what I'm saying right now. I say it on camera. That's what it means if I'm taking an oath to dress up in a so-called police officer suit to get on a job and to go and work for the enemy, the so-called white man, the goddamn devil that the Bible speaks of, and do all that type of stuff. That's exactly what you're doing when you do that. So you don't want to make those mistakes in doing that, because you got to separate. That's what it means when it says separate from this world. Because it means to separate is that you're choosing, you're denying the things of this world. That's why the Most High said, what shall it profit a man if he should gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? You see what I'm saying? So how would you want to do that? That's what you're doing. When you work on the police force, you're saying, I hate my people, and I'm turning on my people for a few nickels. I'm turning on my people for some Popeye's chicken. That's exactly what you're doing. So I'm gonna get up out of here, and I'll be back a little bit later on. And it is what it is. The truth is what it is. All right, I'm gonna see y'all later here, and I'm out. So the video is entitled, Be a Fool, but Don't Be No Damn Fool, Part 3. I'm out. Look out for another one. And don't forget that scripture in 1 Chronicles in the Old Testament, 1 Chronicles chapter 12 and verse 1, and go and read 7, 1 Chronicles 7, 1 Chronicles 8, and 1 Chronicles 5. You're going to 5 and 1 Chronicles chapter 9, and all those chapters you're going to see the genealogy and the family tree. It's 18 nations in the Bible, and go all the way to 1 Chronicles chapter 26 and verse 1. 26, 27, and you read all through that. You're going to read about the genealogy of David and all that kind of stuff. And then go and read in the book of Judges too. Go to the book of Judges and read the book of Judges, and to read the book of Joshua, and especially read Deuteronomy chapter 28. The whole chapter of Deuteronomy 28 is geared toward, especially the history of Deuteronomy 28 talks about all of it. So I'm out, and I'll see y'all later. And read the book of, I'm just trying to make sure I don't forget them. Read the book of Joshua chapter 1 and verse 8, and read the book of Judges, also chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and go all the way on down. You'll see how Israel was disobedient, and they kept going into captivity, and he used the Philistines rule over the Israelites for like 40 years. And then he used Samuel, the prophet, just to come in, and he judged Israel 20 years. That means that he called out the wickedness of the world, and when they was going off, he stood up in the place, and he was rebuking the sins of the people. That's what it means when he was saying he was judging the people. He was judging correctly and judging righteousness. People tell you can't judge, but according to the book of Proverbs, chapter 31 and verse 9, the Bible says, open thy mouth and judge righteously. And then in the New Testament, it tells you the same thing in the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 2, and I think it's verse 14. He that is spiritual judges all things, yet he himself is judged of no man. That's right. He said, he that is spiritual, you judges all things. What does it mean to be spiritual? Spiritual means you'll be keeping the laws of the Most High God. That's what it means. That's what it means. Acts chapter 7 and Romans chapter 7 and verse 14. He said, therefore the law is holy, the commandments holy, just, and good. So that means you'll be keeping the commandments as well. So I'm up out of here, and I'm gonna see y'all later. Y'all have a good night. And that's what it is. Be a fool, but don't be no damn fool.